So, recording the money received. Do we debit bank account or credit bank account? We debit bank account, okay? So, here, debit bank account. When we take money to the bank, remember I said that the bank is a business altogether. So when we take the money to the bank now owes us money. Are we together? The bank calls you a creditor. Are we together? To the bank you are a creditor. They have your money. So your balance at the bank will be a credit balance. It's just like you, if somebody gave you money, if the bank gives you a loan, you are going to have that loan on the credit side. Are we together? So when the bank has your money, we say that you've got a credit balance with the bank. So all the monies that are in our CRJ, the bank is going to record that money on the credit side of your bank statement. Yeah, they've got the bank statement. This is the only document that comes from the bank. We might come to discuss some documents, like there's gonna be a check that the bank gives you back, all those things. But the one document that is actually that actually contains everything is the bank statement. Each and everything that we do, either in receiving money or making a payment, must also be in the bank statement. Are we together? Why do we do bank reconciliations? Because at any given time there's going to be a difference. Now we need to be in a position to be able to identify those differences. Are we together? Now we are saying that if we've got the CRJ, whatever we put in the CRJ is because we were receiving money. When we receive money and we send that money to the bank, the money that the bank owes us increases. Are we together? So they are going to say, oh, there's a credit entry. They owe you more money. Now when we make payments to CPJ, when we make payments, we will be crediting the bank account rather. When we credit the bank account because we were making a payment, what do we use to make payments? What do we use to make payments? Checks. So all our checks, because the money that the bank owes us is decreasing. If you have 8,000 in the bank and you write a check for 3,000 and that person takes the check to the bank, they will give them 3,000. Meaning that now they have 5,000 of your money. Are we together? So they need to go, when you're making payments, CPJ, they need to go and decrease the money that they owe you. Are we together? So they will say that each and everything, all the entries that are in the CPJ must be on the debit side. So what do? We've got the CRJ, which must be on the credit side. We've got the CPJ, which must be on the debit side. That is where our comparison starts. The first thing we do is to look at the CRJ and compare it to the credit side of our bank statement. Now, everything is going to be similar until it is not. What can happen? The errors that can happen, or let's say the differences that can happen. The first one will be an error. Okay, actually, let's deal with errors at the end. Let's say that the first one is that we are going like we did previously. We will record something in the CRJ. We will say plus 1,000, and it will not be here. Everything, whatever is, like if we said plus, okay, let's do this. Just want to quickly, maybe we eliminate the whole need of an example so that we can look at practical stuff on Friday. Cash, receipts, journal. So what's going to happen most of the time is that we are going to say our cash receipts journal is made out of 1,000, 3,000, 500, 6,000, 300, and 1,500. You look at this amount. This is when we were receiving money. Okay, let me mention this once and for all. You don't receive negative money ever. Are we together? You cannot receive negative money. So please, Don't ever record negatives. There is nothing that must ever be negative in a journal. Are we together? There is nothing that must be negative in a journal. If your money is increasing, you are in the receipts journal. If you think that your money is decreasing, you will do it in the payments journal. Are we together? So there is no negative money in our journal. Let's just use these 4 figures. So what's going to happen most of the time is that we are going to go on the credit side. Remember, CRJ must be on the credit side. Then we go and say, okay, they do have the 1,000, they do have the 3,000, they might actually have the 6,000. And then they've got a 700 here, and then they've got a 23. When we compare, what are we going to do? We see 1,000 here, we see 1,000 here. We cancel them. They're similar. There's nothing you can do about them. Are we together? Then we go and say, do they have 3,000? Yes, they do. We cancel it. Do they have 500? No, they don't. Okay. Let's say, do they have 6,000? Yes, they do. Okay, so there is a first set of our differences. The first set of our differences is the fact that we have 500 and they don't have it. Now, any difference of this nature, whereby we recorded something and they did not record it, we call it a timing difference. We recorded something, be it in the CRJ or the CPJ, we recorded something and the bank did not record it. We call it a timing difference. What can have happened? Why is this 500 not there? Why is the 500 not on the CRJ or on the credit side of the bank statement? Why? Why? Come on. Come on. Yes, ma'am. It has not reflected. Every time you print a bank statement, if you've ever printed a bank statement, they will tell you that some transactions from 2 days back or from a day might not reflect. Are we together? So it might be that we gave somebody money to go and deposit. The person has not yet reached the bank. It happens. I mean, we told you to go to Standard Bank. You started by going to Gain. It happens. 4 days later is when you get to the bank. It happens. Or we actually did go to the bank, but they have not yet processed the transaction. Are we together? So we say that we deposited money. The bank doesn't know about it. It's a matter of time before they figure it out. That's why we call it a timing difference. Are we together? Timing difference. Now, once you've got a timing difference, something that is in our document, that's the business, but it's not in the bank statement, it's a timing difference. What are we going to do? We are going to say, in the bank, what do you call it? One of your answers, you've got 4 answers, by the way, when we are doing our bank reconciliation statement. You are going to have 4 answers. Number 1 will be the CRJ, an updated CRJ. And then number 2, an updated CPJ. Number 3 is the bank account. And number 4 is the bank reconciliation statement. Before you know anything, just know those 4 things. Know what will be required. When we ask you for a bank reconciliation statement, what can be required? Any one of those 4 can be required. Theoretically, what I'm saying now can come up to say, what do you do with an entry that is reflected in our documents but not in the bank document? What do we do with such a transaction? We take all timing differences to our bank reconciliation statement. All we are saying is that it's a matter of time. We're going to say in the bank reconciliation statement says that it is the bank statement balance, and then there is the business, or let's say the bank account balance. We are saying that if the bank has 6,000 and the bank has 6,000, the business has 5,000. It's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before this changes. Now, when we find that we've got something in our CRJ that is not on the credit side of the bank statement, we then go and say, okay, let's just update this to not say plus and minus, to rather say debit and credit. Our bank, what do you call it? Bank reconciliation statement is also going to have a debit and a credit balance. Are we together? There's going to be a debit and credit balance. So let's talk about these balances. We've already touched on them. We said that if we have money in the bank, we will say it's a debit balance. The bank account, if the business believes that they've got money in the bank account, it will be on the debit side. Remember, every time we receive money, will be on the debit side. We said that if bank is an asset, it must have a debit balance. If we've got money in the bank, or we believe that we've got money in the bank, we will come here and say that it doesn't matter what anything says, we know that we've got a debit balance. Let's say we've got 10,000. If the bank did everything that we did, they will say that you've got a credit balance of 10,000. Are we together? So they will come here and say, we've got a credit balance of 10,000. There's no need for reconciliation. Are we together? The totals are the same at the end of the day. The totals are the same. Down here, we're going to have a column for totals. Balance as per bank account. So we will say 10,000, and then we add the debit, it gives us 10,000. We add the credit, it gives us 10,000. This means that you've got 100 out of 100, probably. If it's not the same, it probably means that you've got 97%. Don't worry, it's okay, you can move on. You do your bank reconciliation once. The minute you do it twice, you're wasting your time. Are we together? We are sure that you're not going to get 100 out of 100. Okay, I'm not sure, but somebody will get 100 out of 100. If that person is not you, don't waste your time. Are we together? The first time around, these two totals here must be the same. If they are not the same, well, come on, it's okay. I mean, you're not going to get 100 out of 100. I mean, nobody cares about debit and credit being the same. We are working for marks here. We don't have time to waste. You cannot do the same thing twice. Are we together? Don't do the same thing twice. Move on to the next question. You cannot fight for 3 marks, whereas you can actually earn 5 more marks with the other question. Are we together? You move on. And then, what happens in reality is that it's always going to be the case that we come here and we will say that, let's say the business will say that, okay, no, we've got 17,500. And the bank will say, no, you guys have 16,800. We say that when this happens, it is because of timing differences. Are we together? It's a matter of time. Now, the timing difference that we find in the CRJ, remember the first thing you do when you are reconciling, number 1, compare CRJ to credit bank statement. Are we together? Whatever is in the CRJ must be on the credit side of the bank reconciliation. Then you're going to find some differences, you're going to find some common items. Number 2, compare CPJ to debit side of the bank statement. CPJ. So we can have cash payments journal here. When bank is decreasing, when we are crediting bank, when we are making a payment, it does not matter as long as the idea is that bank is decreasing. We are going to record it in our cash payments journal. Each and every check, basically. Each and every check we write must come here. We will say that we wrote a check of 200, and then another one of 1,000, then another one of 700 or 7,000, then there was another one of 500. Now, the bank will send us a bank statement, and I'm making these things up, guys, so please keep up with me. The bank will send us a bank statement, and their bank statement will have 1,000, 7,000, and 500. Let's add a 400 here, just to make things awesome. 444, actually. And then they will have 440. This happens, and then now you're comparing. We gave them to you. You have to compare. All you need to know is that I need to compare CPJ to the debit side. When you come to CPJ, you say, I've got 200. Do they have it? No. I've got 1,000. Do they have it? Then you cancel it here. You cancel it there. I've got 7,000. Do they have it? You cancel it here, you cancel it there. I've got 444, do they have it? No. I've got 500, do they have it?
Yes.
I've got 500, they have it. Whatever is left will be a difference. Now you need to go and classify your differences. There are three classes of differences that we're going to find. Okay, if we are comparing, we compare CRJ to the credit side, we compare CPJ to the debit side. We are going to find common items, we cancel them. Differences is what we note down. We've already noted the fact that there's going to be a timing difference, whereby the bank did, the business did something, the bank doesn't know about it. Are we together? The business did something, the bank doesn't know about it. How do we go and do that? We go and say, okay, where is this 200? The business did it, the bank did not know. So these two amounts. We did the transactions, the bank did not know about them. Those are just timing differences. Are we together? It's a matter of time. This person we paid with a check. Instead of taking the check to the bank, the person did not take the check to the bank, they kept it with them. The bank is not going to, remember how we work with source documents? Up until the bank gets the check, they are not going to process any payment. They are not going to process anything in their records. You already returned the check, you drew the check and you put it in cash payment. The person is holding it, banking it, saying, some other time, I'll go next week. It's a matter of time before they go to the bank. Are we together? They will go and say that they are supposed to all be on the debit side. If they are not, 500 was supposed to be on the credit balance, on the credit side, right? The one from the CRJ was supposed to be on the credit side. So we are going to come here and say credit. It was supposed to be on the credit side. Credit, and then this is basically a deposit that we made, but the bank does not know about it. We deposited money, the bank says there is no money that was deposited. So it's not yet reflecting, or something happened. We go and say, okay, when that happens, we will go and say credit outstanding deposits. It's an outstanding deposit. It will come on the credit side. This 500 will come here, 500. And then we are going to say the ones that are in the CPJ, but not on the debit side of the bank statement, they will be called debit. Remember, they are also timing differences. The business processed them, the bank don't know about them. And then we call the debit outstanding. Remember the check that the person has and they're not taking to the bank? It is an outstanding check. Debit outstanding checks. When the check gets to the bank, they will have to debit the 200. 200. On the they will come and process it on the debit side. That is what we are trying to say. Are we together? These are timing differences. Outstanding deposit and outstanding checks. Timing differences. Are we together? The other set of differences that we can find is the fact that the bank has 700 on the credit side, the bank has 23 on the credit side. So, in the same way that we can have transactions that the bank doesn't know about, the bank can have transactions that you as the business don't know about. What transactions are those? Pardon? Bank charges, for example, yes? You don't know how much they charged you until they give you the statement. Are we together? What else? Interest, income, interest expense, depending. As long as, you see, okay, here's the thing. Interest income, interest expense. If it's interest income, they will want to increase the money that you have, right? So they will credit interest income will be on the credit side. Now, interest expense will be on the debit side because they were, reducing the money that they owe you. Are we together? You made a payment. So basically, everything that is on the credit side and you don't know about it is because they received some money for you. Sometimes it is from them, your interest income. They received some money on behalf of the business. Are we together? The bank, so somebody, instead of coming and paying in the business, they went to the bank and made a direct deposit. Are we together? So, the bank received the money on your behalf. Are we together? We call those kind of differences. Everything that happened at the bank, whether they received the money on your behalf or they made a payment on your behalf, we call those adjusting differences. That is the second group of differences that can be there. Adjusting differences. The one that the business knows about, but the bank knows about, but the business is not yet aware of. When we receive our bank statement, we call them adjusting difference because we are going to have to adjust our bank account. Are we together? All the payments that were made, we are basically right now using the bank statement as a source document to say that some transaction happened and the source document is the bank statement. We only know that, somebody came and gave us, made a direct deposit when we were looking at the bank statement. Before you guys were students, you were told to come here with a proof of deposit, proof of payment, proof that you deposited money. Before you were a student, we were saying, you know what, before we can even talk to you, we want to know that you've got money. So instead of waiting up until month end to come and do a reconciliation like this, we just had say, come with your proof. Come with the proof that you have, so that we can be able to recognize that you made a payment. Are we together? But then the transaction that happened in the bank statement, but not in the CRJ and the CPJ, we call them adjusting differences. Because once you see them, you need to go and record them as payments. You need to go and record them as receipts. Are we together? So, meaning that here we received 700 and 300. When we receive money, what do we do? CRJ, we are receiving money. So here it's just that the bank received the money on our behalf. We will go and say that in CRJ, what is the 700? We will record the 700 in CRJ. We will record the 23 in CRJ. If there's an amount in payments that is not in the debit side, that is not in payments, we will also record it. Are we together? We also record. We call them adjusting differences. Why adjusting differences? Because, by the way, this is number 4. Number 1 I said is the CRJ. And then number 2 is the CPJ. Number 3 is the bank account. Number 3 is the bank account. And then number 4 is the bank reconciliation statement. Then our CRJ, remember they gave us a CRJ here. We use this to compare to the credit side. Once we find that some transactions are in the bank statement but not in the CRJ, we must update our CRJ. We need to adjust our CRJ. Are we together? So in adjusting our CRJ, we're going to start with what I like to call a free mark. We're going to say in our CRJ, we're going to have a total before adjustments. Before we look at the credit, before we do comparison, how much was here? Before this 700 here, before this 23, how much was here? I think it's, 11,500. We gave you 11,500. That is the balance you have before adjustments again. Then we're going to go and say, total before adjustments, 11,500. It's given. All you had to do was maybe add. If it's not here, you just have to go and say 1,000 plus 3,000 plus 1.5 plus 600. You get 11,500 is the total before adjustment. Even when we come here, we are going to have 200, 1,000, 7,000, 444, and then 500. You add them together, how much do you get? 8,144, I believe. 244. No, 144. 9,144. Okay, there. This is the total before adjustment in our CPJ. So when we go into our CPJ, we will have total before adjustments of how much? 9,144. Then timing difference go into our bank reconciliation statement. Timing difference, the question is which ones are timing differences? It's okay, you don't have to answer me. I don't want to be disappointed by the fact that you're not listening. As long as you know what timing differences are, when you find timing differences, they will be recorded in our bank reconciliation statement. And then we are going to go and find another set of differences. We call them adjusting differences. Which differences are adjusting differences? Ma'am?
Bank charges.
No. Bank charges?
Interest.
No. What sort of difference is called an adjusting difference? Not the item that is an adjusting difference. Yes, sir.
Donations.
No. Don't tell me the item. Tell me the class. A class of transactions that we will classify as adjusting difference. Yes, sir.
When the bank statement is not has a higher amount than the CRJ.
No, it's when the bank statement recorded something and we don't have it in the books. Are we together? We don't have this 700 in the journals. We don't have this 23 in the journal. We call those adjusting differences because we must go and adjust our totals in CRJ and CPJ with whatever is on the credit side. We will write it here as 723. And then once you write it here, you cancel it. You write it here, you cancel it. And then what are we left with? Maybe the 440. And then, so timing differences will be in the BRS. Now, adjusting. Once you know and you familiarize yourself with adjusting differences, you will say that I'm going to record my adjusting differences. If they are on the credit side of my bank statement, I will record them in the CRJ, credit adjusting differences. If they are on the debit side, we are going to say debit. They are on the debit side. So debit adjusting differences are recorded in our CPJ. Are we together? It's like it's a lot of information. I'm taking a video. I'm going to upload it on RC. You guys can then go and watch it. And then over and over, like, when you're practicing, it will be in mind. Yes, ma'am.
So, sir, like since when we have money,
Yeah.
and then when you look at the CRJ, but then when you come to the whole thing here, total before adjustment, do we just follow what the bank statement and say credit instead of debit?
Yeah, we credit. No, here we found it on the credit side.
Yes.
It must be in our CRJ.
But then we still
No, there's no debit and credit here. Here I'm just saying you bring the credit adjusting difference, you bring them to your CRJ. The debit adjusting difference, you bring them into your CPJ. They were supposed to be there. We did not know that they are there until we received the bank statement. Are we together? So at the end of the day, what do we want? We want everything that's on the credit side to be in our CRJ. Everything that's on the debit side to be in our CBP. Are we together? Then we're gonna add these ones and go and get what? 32221. 12,223. Now that is an adjusted or total, let's say total after adjustments. So your differences, your credit adjusting difference changed the total or increased the QL. Increase the total in your CRJ. The ones on the debit will increase the total in the CPJ. Are we together? So this would be your debit adjusting difference. We will bring them into the CPJ. Remember I said they are not negatives. If you think it's a payment, record it in payment. No, not even a payment. If you think that it is increasing money, you record it in CRJ. If you think that it is decreasing money, you record it in CPJ. They are not negatives. Does that make sense? And now, with that in mind, we go and say that now we are going to have a new balance of 12,000. And in this case, there was no difference. There was no adjusting difference. So the balance that we had of 9,000 is still the same. There are no adjustments. It happens. And it might never happen. We might actually, we're going to give you one or two. Just because. We are testing principles at the end of the day. We are testing the fact that when you were comparing CRJs to the credit side of the bank statement, you knew what to look for. You were searching for timing differences. You recorded them in the BRS. You were searching for adjusting differences. You recorded them in the cash books, either the CRJ or the CPJ. Are we together? And with that, we go and say that, okay, once you've adjusted your totals, prepare a bank account. Use your adjusted totals to prepare a bank account. I usually say that the bank account is all free marks. All the bank account is free marks as long as you know what to do. Check this out. We are going to have a bank account looking like this. It is always going to be like this. We are going to have now the date will be the 1st or the 30th. And then there will be the 30th here. And then there will be another 1st. Let's say we are working with a positive bank balance. If it's a negative, the 1st will be on the credit side. Are we together? If it's an unfavorable balance, in this case, let's say we've got money in the bank. If we keep on having money in the bank, we are going to keep on having a debit balance, which they will call a credit balance. Are we together? The bank will say that you've got a credit balance of 300. And then we will say we've got a debit balance of 300. That will say that we've got a balance BD on the debit side. Then let's say we've got a total here, we've got a total here, and then we've got a balance BD on the debit side. Now, I keep saying that the bank account is all free marks, or not free marks, you still have to do something for them. Let's call them principal marks. Let's call them given marks.
Yeah.
These marks are given. Why? Number one, we are always going to tell you that at the beginning of the month, the bank account had a positive or a negative bank balance of 700. So we are going to tell you that there was 700 at the beginning of the month. You're going to write it here. I mean, you don't have to calculate it, you don't have to think about it as long as you know what to do. Are we together? As long as you know what to do. And then we know that we were in the CRJ. We were debiting bank. So the total that we get from CRJ, the 12,000, it doesn't matter whether you've got 12,223 or you've got 12,232 or you've got 11,000. The total that you have on your answer book. Are we together, guys? I'm not marking with a memorandum. When I come here, number one, you need to know that total receipts from the CRJ must be on the debit side. We were debiting bank. So you're going to bring the total that you adjusted, your answer. You're going to bring your answer, whether it's wrong or right. You're going to bring your answer here and say 12,123. Are we together? This is your answer. Like, there's no way you get it wrong. As long as you know what to do, you can't get it wrong. It's the answer that you have. Even if you got 7 million, I want 7 million here. And then you go and you look at your payments. With your payments, you were crediting bank. So we will come here and say, okay, how much is our total after adjustment for CPJ? 9144. We will come here and say total payments in the CPJ 9,144. Does that make sense? All you knew was what to do. What must I do? And then you balance the account. So anybody, come balance the account. Come balance the account. Somebody come balance the account. With a pen. Let's see what you can do. See, it's all in knowing what to do. Now, if you can't balance a bank account, the marks are no longer given. So, balancing the account. Let's balance it. I'm waiting. Or are you balancing it in your books?
here, guys.
So you balance the account. I don't know, like, you see, people, there's no way you're gonna botch your way out of finance. You cannot, you know, I don't know, like, trick your way out of finance. It's not gonna happen that you're gonna guess some things when you're writing. It does not happen. Guys, if you don't know finance when you're going to write, don't think that you'll figure it out when you're seated there. Are we together? If you didn't practice, you did not practice. Please accept that you did not practice, you get a 20. We will see you next year when you're repeating the module. You cannot wash your way out of finance. You need to actually practice. You need to actually go and say, what must I do? I just told you, there are 3 things. You need to go and compare CRJ to the credit side. Somebody is listening, sitting here, and you're not even like hearing what we are saying. You're going to go home, you're going to throw your books away and think that you know finance. You don't. Practice. Get them right, get them wrong, but at the end of the day, practice. It makes perfect, so they say. And then we go and say that, now, okay, here it is. Remember when we said balance as per bank account? This balance that we have here. Okay, balancing the bank account. Who needs me to explain it? Raise your hand. I don't want to bore people with things that they know. If you've got a problem, raise your hand. I'll quickly explain it and we move on. Okay? Nobody seems to have a problem. Then I'm not explaining it. We're moving on. Then we go and say that it's a debit balance, so we're going to write it here. 3779. And then we're going to have, what do you call them? Timing differences. On the credit side, we will put them on the credit side. Timing differences from the debit side, we will put them on the debit side of the bank reconciliation statement. And then the last set of differences that exist is errors. Errors. Somebody's going to make an error. We are going to have check number 17 being 444. And then we will have check number 17 being 440. Somebody messed up. Are we together? Somebody made an error. Now, depending on who made the error, we are going to pay attention. The fact that there is a difference says we need to account for it. Are we together? When it was a common item, when it was 1,000 and we had 1,000, it was okay. Nothing was wrong. Now that it is 444 and we've got 440, now we need to establish who was wrong. Are we together? Whoever was wrong must correct their mistake. Whoever was wrong must correct their mistake. If the business was wrong, we are going to correct that mistake either in the CRJ or the CPJ. Those are the books of the business. Are we together? If the bank was wrong, we are going to make a correction of that error in the bank reconciliation statement. If the business was wrong, business books. What are the business books? CRJ and CPJ. If the bank was wrong, bank reconciliation statement. Are we together? So they need, whoever made an error must adjust their error. So even before we've got the total before adjustment, errors made by the business will be here. So in our books, CRJ and CPJ, we've got adjusting differences and errors by the business. Errors by the business. Meaning that in our BRS, we've got timing differences. Let's say TD. We've got timing differences and errors made by the bank. Errors by the bank. There, you were able to compare, to make these two comparisons, and you found adjusting difference. Every time you found an adjusting difference, you recorded it in CRJ or CPJ. Every time you realize that the business made an error, you corrected that error in CRJ or CPJ. Are we together? Every time you found a timing difference, you processed that timing difference accordingly in our bank reconciliation statement. Every time you found an error made by the business, you recorded it in the bank reconciliation statement. There, you finished your bank reconciliation statement. As long as you did that, these two totals here should be the same. If they are not the same, you got something wrong. Are we going to fight for 1 mark or you can move on? Yeah, move on. Move on to better marks. You don't get it right the first time around, okay, it's okay. We will see. Are we together, guys? So at the end of the day, you were able to go and prepare or let's say to do the bank reconciliation process. It's a process. Number one, compare CRJ to the credit side of the bank statement. Number two, compare CPJ to the debit side of the bank statement. And then what are we trying to find? Differences. There are three sorts of difference. Number one, timing difference. Number two, adjusting differences. Number three, errors. We found those, and then bank errors go into BRS. And then business errors go into, let's say the cash books, cash journals. We will talk about correcting errors depending on how the error came. You have to correct it in a specific fashion. For instance, like I said, there are no negatives. Right? If the business made an error, so let's say this time, this 444 was supposed to be 400. It means 440. It means that the business made an error. The business must go and make this 440. So basically, they must decrease the 4. Are we together? They must decrease the 4. I said that there are no negatives. If you believe that, you must increase your money. If you are decreasing expenses, it means that you are increasing your money. Are we together? So when it's like this, it was an overstatement. So you stated your expenses more. You did 444. You said it's 444 instead of 440. You will record that in the CRJ. There are no negatives in our journals. So if we find that we have to decrease expenses, we record the difference as a receipt. Or it can happen that instead of saying 440, instead of saying 444, we said 440. We need to go and increase our expenses. That's simple. Record the difference and understatement. So we can have errors being overstatement or understatement. Even here we can have overstatement. Overstatement and understatement. Understatement means that you said less money instead of more money. So when we find an overstatement in either of the books, an overstatement in the CPJ will be recorded in the CRJ. An overstatement in the CRJ will be recorded in the CPJ. Then an understatement is simple. You have to increase.